that's pretty interesting. So technically, AI established businesses were once AI startups, right? Trying to
Yeah,
understand. Okay.
not yeah startup, but yeah startup I will say. I think
Hmm.
yeah, because AI just came now. So.
That's interesting. Changing the topic a little bit. Which one do you think is better? OpenAI's ChatGPT-4o or Google's Gemini 1.5 Pro? Hey everybody, and welcome to my podcast, AI with Alex. Today we're with Abdul, and we're going to talk about GPT-4o versus Gemini 1.5 Pro. And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi Alex, it's a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for inviting me into your show. I'm Abdurrahman Janu. I have running an AI startup, and in past few years, we have built a lot of AI solutions for different companies, airports, different projects in healthcare or in crowd analytics, and a lot more. And excited to share some insights or any questions you have in this podcast.
Oh, thank you. And it's super cool that you're working in a tech startup in AI. Yeah, so
Yes.
I'm gonna introduce GPT-4o and Gemini 1.5 Pro. So basically, both of these models were released just last week, and basically, OpenAI is promising that GPT-4o is basically the O stands for omniscience, and it's basically going to revolutionize how we interact with AI. So you'll be able to talk to it like a normal conversation now. And Gemini 1.5 Pro, Google is also promising that they're going to add 1 million tokens, which means it can not only respond via text and pictures, but it can also respond via audio and video, which means it unlocks a whole new way of
Experience, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I think it's kind of a exciting path or exciting time for humanity. In general, I feel like this. Either of it. If you probably might have not seen that stage, but like in very long back when we used to in our childhood, when we used to use a computer, the RAM used to be like 13 MB, 16 MB, or 32 MB. And now we are in the era where we get GBs of RAM and memory and stuff like that. So I think AI is in that stage where we are still talking about very limited context, but in few years from now, we'll be having a huge context window, which means hours and hours of conversation and context can be analyzed, can be spoke. And anyways, we are seeing those glimpses. So I think the Omni example right now, which is about audio, video, and a lot of other media streams. So in short, it's not just the one data, so it can be text, audio, video, and it can be take that as a backend intelligence to analyze it. And moving forward, I believe that the next model will be doing more task orientation. When we say something, just go to Gmail and write the email. Now, today they are capable, but they are controlled by some certain governance. But I believe in next future activity will be about get tasks done, and AI in future will be having its own clone. So, for example, there will be an Alex bot. If I want to know, Alex, are you available 3 days after this podcast to have a conversation with me? And there'll be an digital agent like Alex. I'll be talking to it. I'll be checking the schedule of Alex. Is it available or not? Or Alex probably will, the digital AI agent of Alex will be talking to me and emailing me back and replying me back. And probably certain tasks of information or certain direction is required, then actual human Alex will come and support and guide. And it will be more like an assistance. I think it's a format of assistance, which is going to happen now. So yeah, I think Gemini, OpenAI, even this another product which is cloud, which is backed by Amazon, they are all three of them are doing amazingly well.
That's very interesting. So I see what you mean. You specifically said that there are going to be virtual assistants. So you're claiming that they aren't going to like completely take over like jobs and stuff like that, right?
So I think with every technology, there was a new evolution, right? So when humanity in early stage, they might be using stones to fire it up, and of course that job has taken up maybe different stove or induction cook we have today. So it's a huge transformation of revolution is happening, right? So yes, there's a new game. It's like the chess when you play it, and when you play a new game, there's always a new fresh restart, right? So that's an era which is a restart, and of course, it will take a decade or 2 decade or maybe 20 years, 30 years, where humanity need to adapt to it. But there'll be a different kind of jobs coming up. If we see mobile phone, before that, people never used to do a booking and order e-commerce or stuff like that. We never imagined, at least in early stage of our technology adoption, we never imagined on click we'll get the cab. We'll never imagine on click we'll get food or any whatever we want. And now today we get everything on phone. And maybe same way, the new job was created, a new format was there. Now with the new generation, I think it's because communication was a very big revolution as well in past. It's you can talk to anyone on one phone from. This is a very good example. Right now I'm in India and I'm talking to you, and it just shows a phenomenal technology revolution which we can do as a live session. Same with the next generation will be with intelligence. So we will stop doing boring tasks. We'll start doing some intellectual tasks. We'll start having a direction. We'll start having now everyone will be CEO. Today, when I'm a CEO, I prompt my team, hey, do this, do that, do that. Right now, in future, everyone will be CEO because they will have all the agents and they will direct each of them. So now future generation jobs will be CEOs, not that typical individual who is doing it now. So I think it will be as era will come, a new format of job will come. We never knew influencer as a job profile who will make millions and billions of dollars, right? So it's in the new format of intelligence will come, and then a new format of job.
That's very interesting. So, that was kind of cool that you mentioned that in the future everybody would be a CEO because my last episode we talked a good bit about AI startups and how you can be your own like founder and stuff. So it's very interesting to see how AI in the future will be able to have individuals be able to create all kinds of businesses and ideas such as that. Okay, so leaning more into GPT-4 and Gemini 1.5 Pro, um, I do believe that they have some pretty cool similarities and differences. Like, for example, GPT-4o is OpenAI claims that it is much faster and a bit smarter than its older model, GPT-4. And also Google promises Gemini 1.5 Pro to be able to um to be able to to be able to
Yeah,
take more input. Yeah. So I didn't had a chance to interact with either of the AIs yet.
yeah. So I use both of them. In fact, as I said, cloud as well, and that's part of our research. And we build a lot of solutions for our customers. So in general, we surprisingly made some AI agents. So for example, when We do experiment with different model and different accuracy and different context. Some use cases are feasible today, some of them need more bigger context in future to be done. And in general, everything is quite promising. So we build a small agent who will act as a CEO. He'll instruct another team, and he will be another agent will be a CTO, and third agent will be a designer or someone like. So each of them, they are talking to each other. That's a cool workflow which we saw magical stuff happening there. We in fact try to just prompt it and take a lot of assistance about okay, huge data access we given to the AI, and we ask them like, what do you think about this particular vehicle, or what's like we have a data of huge data pipeline of a lot of big data stuff of different products and different services. So let's say Uber, for example, which are the caps? What is a new pattern? Let's say like what is a opportunity for us to make money? So now we can interact with AI, and AI is able to go and analyze this data and give us some insights and give us a lot of cool stuff out there. And we don't have to code the way we used to do it in early stage. We used to take long pages, and it's like huge thousands lines of code we used to do to get that kind of use case. Now we just prompt, we are getting that out. The same thing with Gemini, they are doing amazingly well in that sense. And we work with certain Google sessions where a lot of students came a few weeks back with the hackathon and saw a lot of surprising output from them. And I think in general, it's just a beginning. The way we had like the first iPhone, it was quite magical. But today we have 15 series. It has took a lot of evolution from the early stage. We used to use calculator and some of the magical stuff on the screen. Today we play amazingly great games and experiences which we feel, and the camera, the quality, and all that. So it's a with time it will be just changing the thing. I think people will stop doing boring job. They'll start having more creative, very powerful problem statement they'll be focusing on. And I think future needs that because the type of problem is like climate change or let's say multi-planet species or different few million still diseases has not been diagnosed or have not been discovered properly or there's no treatment for it, right? So all this technology will accelerate for humanity to come up with a much more meaningful solution. Now, people will be working more towards the problem and much faster, and a lot of science research discovery will happen. And I think both of the product, or even I'll say all the companies right now who are trying to do this, it's doing very amazing.
Nice. So, that's actually kind of cool. That scientists are right now working to use AI um to fix impactful problems with AI solutions. And I also like what you said about how both GPT-4o and Gemini 1.5 Pro are very helpful to the average person in terms of scenarios, things like that. And speaking of the average person, um I I want to talk a little bit about the accessibility. Like for example, OpenAI claims that they're going to make GPT-4o free for everyone to use, which I thought was actually pretty cool. But Gemini 1.5 Pro, you do have to use a subscription for it. But I found a workaround that you can actually use it for free using the Google Lab thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's about the approaches which each of them, right? So there's a YouTube approach where you can go and watch the movie and get entertained from it. And then there's a Netflix approach where you pay premium and get a different kind of content and you get entertainment in differently. And YouTube is really free, magical, accessible, much more bigger audience and people it's only because it's free, right? And it's because There's an ad monetization because not everyone can afford it. And if you don't want those ads, you just pay the subscription. Then also you can get the experiences. If any movie trailer is coming up, they will put it on YouTube because it give you that mass access. Whereas on the other hand, Netflix give you a very common, very premium content. So for me right now, it's like ChatGPT is in a Netflix and YouTube is Gemini. And both of them will exist. Both of them are powerful. Both of them has their own audiences. It's like Android versus iPhone. Both
Yeah.
segment will be there. It's about 8 billion population, right? So much of preferences. Someone will like blue color, someone will like pink color. Everyone has their choices, and it's we are debating on intelligence, like brain, right? Someone will like who is very smart or debatable and very powerful, and someone is very romantic, very romantic. So we will go with those. So it's a preferences and choices, and people will eventually find each platform, their use cases, their products. It's just a magnet. But what's it's magical is that they are capable to do a lot of interesting stuff. They will be just evolutionizing into really better and better as the time goes, and that's an exciting future as such.
Yeah. Um, I also do agree with you on how the future is going to be very exciting now that these companies are making lots of good and powerful AIs, and it's very accessible and free. And I feel like that's a very nice approach that both of the companies, OpenAI and Google, are working on. For example, in the Google I/O event, there was one demo that caught my eye. You could basically use Google. You can like ask via Google like Chrome search on your phone. How do I fix this? And you'll actually ask Gemini using the 1 million token video limit, and uh, it will basically identify what you're talking about. It will search up on the internet for lots of references, and it will basically figure out based on that what the steps are needed to be done or things like that. And I can believe that when I saw that clip, I was like, wow, AI is going to be so much more accessible to everyone. It's going to be easy to use as well. It's not just that, it's also for developers too, with APIs. When I also heard OpenAI is going to add their newest and most smartest GPT-4o model into their APIs for developers, I got really excited because I've always really wanted to use the model into my code, and I thought it would be really cool and awesome to be able to have this new GPT-4o. Maybe I can even make it accessible and free to everyone early, so I could just import it using the API key and it works. I've tested it. I think something's wrong with the endpoint or something, but I couldn't really get it to work. But the thing is that these I feel like companies in general should are trying to make things more accessible to everyone. And I think that's really cool. What do you think?
Yeah, and as you likely said, right? It's about the I think accessibility, adaptation, and the friendliness, intelligence, everything is coming back. Each iteration, each version, each week demo is changing. Few when ChatGPT 3, 4, when we used to see it was different. Now it's where you can talk. It's teaching the kids how to learn math. It's being an assistant. It's very phenomenal in that sense, right? Imagine what possibility or power each individual have today to change the world, make it better in that sense, and inspire the world with new innovation, new experiences. And that's the best time to live. what it used to take few thousand years back, a few hundred years back, what our ancestor used to do just to travel one country to another country. It used to take years for them. Now today with the technology and advancement, we are in that stage. We can talk and interact and learn from each other, and it's an intelligence and assistance coming up in digital world and in this physical world, and it's amazing. It's going to be very inspiring. It will also make people a little bit blurry and confused at the same time on what to do when everything is done by AI, or what's the next for that, right? And so I think a lot of no one was prepared in pandemic, and this new era is going to make uncertain. And one beauty which or big feature which human has, adaptability, and no one knew in COVID time how quickly we'll adapt in few days, right? And it's magical. It was globally, it was for everyone. And same way now with AI, we still at least have some time to get used to it, adapt to it. And I think we as a human will adapt to it and will learn and do. I'm quite optimistic. We'll all do a lot of inspiring stuff, and there won't be any limit. Uh, and there won't be a barrier of capital, a barrier of education, a barrier of question of now each individual will get an equal opportunity to perform and do it better.
Yes. I I I really agree with that. I'm very optimistic when it comes to AI. Some people are like AI is going to be the end of humanity and we're creating our own doom. But I do believe that AI is going to affect us, maybe sometimes for the bad, but also for the good. And um it's going to help us in a lot of fields, just like how OpenAI and Google are claiming their AIs are going to be. Um, I really do think that in the future we're going to see these AIs not as replacements but as assistants, replacing the tedious tasks that we all have to face. People think that AI is going to replace. I don't really believe in that because AI, after all, is just an algorithm with a bunch of data. So algorithms are basically just if else statements. Just if this is that, then do this. Else if this is that, something like that. And it's not going to like 100% replace us anytime soon. At least it's going to help us with the tedious tasks, help us with the tasks that we have to do every day that is so boring. Like for example, writing emails, for example. It could be very tedious to do that, and AI can help with that. But for the most part, I feel like we're fine as humans. And
Hmm.
speaking of, yeah,
No, I believe differently, yeah, because in our company Terexof, what we are trying to do is we as a company we do build a product for millions and users who will be using the products, right? So imagine some local Netflix or some local products we're trying to build it, and huge people are using it, right? And these solutions to build, it was extremely hard and extremely difficult engineering task, and we need 10 people, 12 people, 15 people to get that work done. Now in our company itself, in Direxo right now, what we are trying to do is about creating agents and trying to replace Abdul, and it's surprisingly it does, it is actually showing that glimpse. And very soon, I feel in a couple of years, it will be enough smart AI who will try to do and work exactly like me. But still, I always complain I don't have bandwidth. I can manage 10 clients, 20 clients. Now in future, although I get hundreds of client requests, I can't fulfill it because I
yeah,
don't have bandwidth. I can't. So now in future, with the help of AI, again, it's my cognizant limit. where I still can't give too much of context of, let's say, I'm reading science and then geography and then math. It's very difficult. So in those scenario, it's going to be very challenging for me to do, but it will accelerate my productivity 2x, 3x, 4x, right? Like beyond that, of course, I will be saturated. So, and I think we are social animal, and it's going to be there as a social human being. We still will love to see in football game if football players are, or let's take an example of chess. We still love to see two chess champions playing with each other. We don't like if AI is playing it. We know that that particular person will lose because he has finite possibility of permutation logics. So the joy will be with human or social activities, but certainly maybe logical activities wise, AI will do a lot of better job, and it will always wait for our instruction, our decisions, our we will be more like a manager, CEOs of this agent, which we love to instruct people, and we as a social animals will do better in that sense. But I do believe a lot of our tasks, a lot of our job, a lot of our traditional way what we are doing today, it will get changed. But I also believe like who thought in social media there'll be an influencer as a market or content creation as an economy, and that will be so huge. No one knew. Same way with AI coming up, new type of jobs, new type of ways will start popping it up, and it will make human more powerful than before. And I, I feel like things will be much more magical as some lot of things which we feel like counterintuitive, it will not happen. I think it's just a matter of time it will happen. But something which we believe like it should like chess, we will not like AI to compete with us. We want human. We want that drama in our life. We'll continue to have that.
Yeah, that's really cool about how you said that um humans are very like social and stuff like that. And I feel like some people might find it strange that you have to like talk to an AI, but I feel like when you talk to an AI, you're kind of being social instead of just like typing keys and just hoping it works. You're actually like communicating with the AI. And I actually thought that was kind of cool. Some people were making a big deal about it, but I personally found it fine. And I also like how you said virtual assistants as well. Just the other day, I needed help with translating something. Yeah, and I not translating, it's transcripting. Yes, transcripting. And I had a couple questions, and instead of just copying the whole transcript and just pasting it to ChatGPT and asking it, I actually used Otter and I asked it questions based on my transcript, and it actually gave me pretty precise answers based on the transcript. And I do believe even in the even in the future, AI is not going to be a replacement. It's going to be a helper. It's going to be one of those sci-fi like waiters or something like that. It's not going to 100% replace people, but maybe it might replace some, but it will create more opportunities for many more people. So yeah, that's really interesting about what you said. And speaking of that, I want to talk a little bit about the differences and similarities between AI similar to what we were talking about. Like for example, GPT-4o and Gemini 1.5 Pro about how different they are. Of course, Gemini doesn't have the whole conversation with the AI via talking, but it does have something very similar, and I feel like it's really cool. So, what do you think are some of the differences and similarities of the two?
Yeah, I'll put it in an analogy where let's say there are two friends or two classmates or two colleagues, right? They might have started their education in the same school. They went into the first standard, second standard, and then they're kind of into the finishing the school. Some little bit ahead in the game. Maybe they have graduated, someone is still studying and finishing it. But as the time comes to the career, in a couple of years, both of them will have a similar capability, similar intelligence, similar opportunities as such. Now, coming to the OpenAI being betting on large language model before, and every time they compute, so that's always training is happening, always computation is happening, and always the data, more and more data is coming, more preferences are happening, and they learn this before. So Google is little bit way behind them, but it's always in 3 months, 6 months we will see those features like Android versus iPhone. All the core features will see very soon in both the product. Now, those two human beings or two intelligence body, two digital species will have their own core strengths. It's exactly like you and me in different personality. We both speak, we are both adding some value to the humanity, having some kind of way of interacting to people, family, responsibility, all those are happening at our level. Same with these two intelligent species will may have a different personality or personas, but eventually they will try to help the humanity in the both different segment and will attract the different value. So now a lot of people don't have $20 per month to pay to get the access of four access, right? OpenAI 4 and O versus
Yeah.
Gemini is a free where like Africa, India, or Asian countries still needs those free tools and similar accessibility opportunity to experience it. And I think both will get this segment of help and access and experiences like YouTube versus Netflix. I think yes, maybe OpenAI have an edge. It's better in some sense, but it's I think sometimes we don't need Mercedes. Even Ford car is good enough for us to commute at least from one place to another. I think, yeah, both company are doing their best, and I think it's a matter of a few years where all the features will be good enough. If someone comes and say you have a private jet, yes, I would love to have experience, but it's not need. It's become a want, and sometimes yes, for people who don't have time and each hour is expensive, it makes sense as well. But majority everyone is good enough to have those economical flight experiences. So it's of that. I think all this intelligence product will eventually will be good enough for everyday tasks. Only some will get specialized in different market and different segment. One will be doctor, one will be engineer, but both will have their world to serve.
That's very interesting. Um, I also liked how you said the analogy, right? About yeah, I think that was actually really interesting. And I do agree about what you said. That I mean they are both paid. I feel like maybe in the future they will be more accessible to everyone. You won't have to do a workaround. But I feel like the main difference between the two is that GPT-4o is um it's first of all it's a bit faster than the Pro version, and second of all you can actually talk to it. But obviously Gemini you can upload videos, and you can also have it search up from Google more, because you have to sometimes you have to specify with ChatGPT if you want to search up the internet sometimes. And so yeah, those are basically the differences. And I was speaking of that actually, I was just wondering because the two are very similar in terms of technology. And so I was actually just wondering, what is the difference between AI startups and established businesses like Google? Um, what makes a startup a company? Basically, what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's typically I think startups has are in survival mode, right? So where let's say someone was hungry and wanted and there's no money and he want to feed himself and his family and he goes into the jungle and he just go after it. He don't miss out the opportunity in limited time and limited resources. He hunts food for his family and things. That's a startup. The company in on the other end has enough funds, enough money, enough food, enough material. So it doesn't have those hunger. It doesn't have those uh, things, but it gives them the accessibility of resources, which if they want their family to get fed, it's just easy for them to access it.
Mhm.
And in if in the first case, startup does really well in terms of innovation, and every company has been need to be more innovative, otherwise they will die. It need to be innovative on the first principle thinking. So, for example, someone who might have discovered ice age and ice, and then there was someone who was selling the ice. They forgot when the refrigerator came. If someone would have started the business or migrated to refrigerator, they will have never ran out of business. But people don't care. They feel like, no, my business will continue to happen. No, but like when the refrigerator was coming, it's democratized that. Same way, I think Google in general understand that, and I think they put those red code alert. Co co-founders Larry Wade and Sejal came back to full-time actively now working on AI. It just shows that they understand the people, the core vision on one click, they want to give the information. Now the mission or vision statement itself will get changed because now world is not looking for information, it's looking for knowledge, it's looking for intelligence. It it just changed the expectation, changed the structure for the organization. And that's what Google is doing it or enterprise are doing it right now because uh, it's a new revolution. It's a new game, new world, and new rules, and no one knows what's going to happen. It's like a pandemic for them. Where a startup on the other end, it already used to that. It's already learned to swim in the ocean. It's every day they're just hustling, and those hungers are making them faster. And now, actually, company like Microsoft is acting like startup. Company like Google are acting like startup. They are throwing innovative product which are half buggy but to the customer. That's how startup does. It's by design or it's by thinking they want to throw the products which are incomplete, let the user use it and tell us what they more want from us. It's the same thing what startup does. And I think things, at least like the people or the company like Microsoft or startups are, I think they are doing really different this time. And there's a different rules. So there is no standard what you learn in past will work here.
That's pretty interesting. So technically, AI startups. I mean, established businesses were once AI startups, right? Trying to
Yeah.
understand. Okay,
Not AI startup, but yeah, a startup I will say. Yeah, because AI just came now, so
that's interesting. So, changing the topic a little bit, which one do you think is better? OpenAI's ChatGPT-4o or Google's Gemini 1.5 Pro?
so I've I don't. So if technically speaking, definitely OpenAI is winning there. But mm, it's I'm the person of impact, and I love to see anything which goes on scale, more users using it and getting benefited of it. Google is a big brand, and billions of users use it today and it's free and it just on one click intelligence is coming up, right? So maybe OpenAI product might be much powerful like Apple in that sense, in that segment. But I think what Google in general does always beautifully is about serving humanity at scale. And that's something I believe what is the better in the sense, the more the user it's better always. And I think both have their own thing. One will win in technical and they're doing a great job there and inspiring us every day to get up and do something great. And that's where OpenAI is really ahead of its time because that engine is not stopping. Computational will happen. And Google is few months behind or 1 year behind that race, but they are catching up. They are also putting the more computation, more data, more things. But at the same time, Google is also launching to different market segment and scale, which is really well as well. So I think I will not rather answer this question and keep it very diplomatic in that sense.
Actually, I'm actually a bit shocked because normally when someone would ask me, okay, ChatGPT or Gemini, I would obviously say ChatGPT because I personally like how they're trying to make it more accessible. I mean, of course, Google's making it more accessible, but OpenAI is kind of towards the techie person, which obviously I'm a techie person. I like that, and also because it's um it's just so easy to use, and you just type a few things and Google though Gemini you have to be like 18 and above, you have to do this, you have to do that, and it's just a bunch of workarounds just to talk to Gemini. Obviously some people might have less issues than others, but I personally like ChatGPT, and obviously I'm paying for it, so of course I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
thank you for being on my podcast. This is AI Alex. I'm Alex. This is Abdul. And do you have any last words before we end the podcast?
Well, I think Alex, it's exciting to see very young folk like you trying to be and meet people out there have this kind of conversation. And I always want to serve founders and students and young folks like you. So happy and thanks for inviting me on the show. And if you need any other help in future, any other podcast, and feel free to invite me as well again.
You're absolutely welcome. Bye bye.
Thanks, Alex. Bye.